This is Soccer 101 with Moon and Rocchio.
Rocchio, we finally get to celebrate a win.
3 points, baby. 3 whole points. How about that?
Yeah, not 3 whole goals, but 3 whole points. It was nice. I was bummed out. I missed the game. I was stuck in a drive, actually. I was flying back from Newark, and this was a Sunday afternoon game, so I was actually kind of trying to get across Manhattan to get back to Newark. We were coming from Atlantic City. It was cheaper to have a flight out of Newark, but I wanted to get some pizza because it wasn't until an evening flight. So we needed to drop the van off because you can never park in Manhattan or Brooklyn or anywhere. We needed to drop the van off at a friend's house or a friend of a friend's house. Ended up not being his house, but his shop. And this is like an old Brooklyn Red Hook neighborhood guy. Okay, he's a neighborhood guy, so he's not gonna. Your car's not gonna get messed with. Your guitars, your gear, nobody's gonna touch this stuff. But he didn't say stuff. And so, again, short story. I was just after pizza. I just wanted to get a little bit of food before going back to Newark and flying home. So the entire time this game is going on, 5 hours, 5-hour drive it took to get from Atlantic City, drop some people off at the airport, get across Manhattan, get to Brooklyn, get pizza, and get back. It took me 5 hours just to get a slice of pizza. But you know what? It was freaking worth it. It was worth it. The pizza is so good. Pizza is so good. Bottom of the story, though, is that I missed the match. So I had to watch some of the replay and then the recap. But for the most part, I saw good things. How's Matt Rocchio feeling about this win that happened over Austin FC on Sunday?
Hey, 3 points is 3 points, and this is a team that desperately needed to get as many points as possible, and they did it. And after dropping 3 against Dallas in a game they really should have won, it was good to see them pick up 3 points in another game they should have won, because Austin never threatened. They had 0 shots on goal, just 2 shots total, both of them by the man we were worried about, though, in Sebastian Driussi. So our worries were founded, but luckily the City defense stepped up and stopped them. They're not a great offensive team. They're not a great defensive team. It wasn't a good game in any way, shape, or form from Austin, but you do want to focus on the fact that City finally broke through. They got some of the same looks that they were getting against Dallas, but this time they were able to actually put one away in the back of the net. Congrats to Adeniran Klauss, who went just under 1,000 total minutes since his last goal in play against Kansas City towards the end of last year's season. So congrats to Adeniran Klauss for the goal. It was a huge one. He had to get that one. Huge for St. Louis City SC. A good win overall. But honestly, if we're just being 100% on it, there are still some things that weren't as encouraging as they could have been.
Definitely. So later in the episode, we will end up obviously talking about the Sam Adeniran drama, shall we say, the drama behind Sam being benched and where is Sam and all that kind of stuff. We do have a little bit of more information today after some stuff that was talked about by Coach Carnell yesterday. But yeah, let's just go over the game in general. A couple things I noticed. I think there were a couple light yellow cards given out, and that was something that kind of
specifically the one to the coach.
I didn't even see the one to the coach. No, I mean, and this is going both ways. I think, and those typically they don't have to be a big deal, but it
was early. It was the first one right out of the gate, kind of light for you. Was it Durkin? I think you got that one right out of the gate, and you were like, okay, this is quite the pace they're setting.
Yeah, Durkin first, and then one of their players, I forget which one. Too many names in my head right now. He got yellowed, and I was like, you know what, I don't like this. And I understand the use of the yellow card to set the tone for the game and to make sure that, players aren't getting out of hand. But this isn't some like rivalry or something. Like you said, this wasn't great play or gnarly, chippy play or historic bad blood between teams. And I just thought those early yellows, there was some really soft ones in there. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because as the season goes through, especially in the later season, those yellows can really start to add up and make a difference and have to sit players in certain ways or heaven forbid somebody gets an actual yellow after a soft yellow and has a red and has a suspension in any sort of sense. I just don't like seeing that. That was my first note. My second note was, boy, is it a different game from this team. And this goes across the sport in general. But boy, is it a different team when they finally get a goal and have the lead. When they have the lead, all of a sudden, not only does the offense have more confidence, you saw Jackson putting some shots on, and he had one that he put in the back of the net, and he was just ever so offsides. But just the way that they play, and they seem lighter, and they're stepping differently, and they're more confident on and off the ball, including the defense. Like you mentioned, Austin isn't much to talk about or write home about. And Driussi,
they can score goals. I mean, we talked about it last week. I know San Jose is a bad team to set an example against, but clearly, when you can score 4 goals in a game, you're not any slouch. But the offense was never there for them.
Never there, but I will say that the defense just seemed to be ever so slightly more confident with that 1-goal lead. Of course, like I said, this is a sport-wide thing, not just a league, not just a team thing. But for our team, boy, does it make a difference to take off some weight from the shoulders of our guys. And I think that has been the biggest difference between this year and last year. Last year, the ball bounced our way a few times. We get out ahead, and this team just performs when they're out ahead. That's a scary realization, because we're not always going to be ahead. Last year, obviously, they had a couple heroic comebacks, I believe, and I think we're still capable of those things. But just listen, in general, I was just happy to see some confidence in some of the players that need it. And obviously, Klauss gets his goal and can kind of shake off those stats that haven't looked good. That was the first goal he's had in run of play since September, correct?
Yep. The game 32 of their 34-game regular season last year was the last Sporting Kansas City game before the playoffs. He scored an open play, and then his only goal since then was, of course, the penalty goal earlier on this season. While we're talking about João Klauss, let's throw it over to Bradley Carnell. This is Carnell from right after the game on Sunday, talking about what it meant to see Klauss get that goal and really about his work rate and how impressed he is.
Yeah, he should be on 15 goals for the amount of work he puts in, because that's the reward he deserves. So really happy to see him getting on the score sheet. You can see he invests a lot. So again, the staff, we invest a lot in the individual. And it's nice to see it when it all comes around. We know the value. We've seen it last year in Klauss, and it's just a matter of time. So yeah, he got the PK goal a couple of weeks ago, and now he's in the run of play, scoring goals in the 18-yard area. So again, it's progression. Good players, might have a rough patch here and there, but yeah, quality will always shine through in the end.
Couple words there.
You love hearing that from Carnell.
A couple words from Carnell there that he's said a few times in a couple different contexts this last week, and that's investment in the energy put forth, and how the reward for the investment. And let's just jump into the Sam stuff. I had a whole bunch of friends
let's dive in.
me.
Let's dive in.
Yeah, I had people over the weekend text me and said, why isn't Sam there? They carried only 8 on the bench when they could carry 9. Sam was dropped from the squad. It was whoa, is this a health thing or is this a tiff? Is something going on? And that first quote, Carnell steered clear of talking about Sam and just talked about how the players that were there because they're emptying their tanks, and he's glad to see them there emptying their tanks.
Let's talk about that quote really quick, because that was post game on Sunday, and the question was, what was the situation with Sam? And Carnell's answer was, for me, the focus today was on the players who were here on the roster and the guys who emptied the tank for each other. Now, on the surface, with the way that Carnell likes to do his interviews, I tried to take that with the least negative impact as possible, which was Carnell usually defers. If you ask him a question about the other team, Carnell will deflect and say, well, I want to talk about what our guys did. If you ask a question about a specific player, Carnell will deflect and say, well, I want to talk about what the whole team did. And so Carnell doesn't like talking about one player. And so when I first heard that, I thought that was his way of deflecting from the situation to say, hey, let's just focus on the guys who were out there today, who played. They all did incredible. Let's just focus on that. That was my original takeaway from that quote, and I kind of tried to tamp down other people who saw that and were like, oh, he's calling Sam out. I was like, no, he's not. This is just how Carnell does press conferences. Well, apparently it's not how he always does press conferences, Moon, because things changed on Tuesday.
That's right. He's now calling Sam out, and my buddy Dan was right all along.
Yes, he was. Yeah, your buddies were right. My buddies were right, and I was very wrong. Here was Carnell on Sam Adeniran yesterday from City Park. Right now, we're focusing on guys who bring a certain standard, intensity, work effort in training, and those players will get rewarded. Sam, up until further notice, will be training on his own.
Holy smokes. That last sentence, that's brutal. That's brutal.
That's bad.
Not only like, it was, when I started reading the sentence, I was like, wow, he's saying Sam. And he said, Sam is gonna, and I was like, Sam is gonna be back soon, or something with like a little positive twist, because coach likes to do that and likes to, build us up.
Exactly.
And it's a hopeful thing. And he said, nah, this cat will be alone for a while. And that was, he basically said, Sam is in timeout, and we're not going to talk about it until he's not in timeout.
Yeah, and let's get down. Obviously, we don't know what's going on. Obviously, the intensity in training has lacked. We know that just based on what Carnell is saying. The things we don't know, and I don't want to just throw conjecture at, but I just want to say what we don't know is what is causing the issues in training right now with Sam Adeniran. And a lot of people have been throwing around, the question about whether or not Sam comes out early in the season, is able to score 2 goals. He also picks up an assist while the offense is slowing down. Then we don't see Sam. Klauss gets a lot of starts, and Klauss finally breaks through, but he was obviously struggling, hence why we're referring to it as a breakthrough. So I think there's a lot of people wondering, with Sam's early success in the season, what happened just 7 or 8 games in that caused not only the switch to Klauss, but maybe clearly some unhappiness about that switch.
Yeah, I like this. I kind of like this. I kind of like that he used the name. I kind of like that this is happening in the beginning of the second season. I really do. And here's why. Young players, young guys, all of us, we make some like dumb mistakes. Sometimes we get full of ourselves. Sometimes we're, for whatever reason. I'm not saying this about Sam. I'm just saying like we can be idiots. We can be really cocky idiots. And I'm not saying that that's what's happening, but that's what sounds like what's happening. All I'm saying is that is a high potential for these guys who had a heck of a season last year, have been praised, have done really remarkable work, have maybe the best fan base in the MLS right now, like really backing them and supporting them. It's a cool spot to be, and it's an easy place to lose yourself as far as intensity or focus. Now, never mind Sam, I really like Coach coming out here and setting the precedent. We've already heard about the precedent that he set in training, that it's like, this is a serious place of competition. Training is not only are you competing for your job with your fellows, like you're competing for the appreciation of a coach who is demanding a very, very high standard for you. I like that. I think that's how St. Louis sports that's what we love about a lot of St. Louis sports. That's what gets results. But I think this is much bigger than Sam. And I think whether Coach is doing it on purpose or not, he's using this as an opportunity to set the standard for city soccer. You know what I mean? Like we talk about the Cardinal way and this and all this kind of stuff. And like, I got a Manchester United ball behind me. Obviously I'm a diehard, and one of the things was the Manchester United way, the Manchester United style of play just demanded this never say die intensity. And I love the fact that he's putting it out there. This isn't for us. This is for the players that are on the roster now and the players in the future. They are seeing that this guy and this culture that's being built in this team demands a gnarly high standard at training. And that ultimately is going to be great for us. It's going to be great for us. So I like this. And I don't even care about the Sam situation. I think Sam will straighten it out. They'll figure it out because he's an excellent talent that obviously isn't giving enough. He'll step up or step out, whatever. But I love this. Rocchio, don't you feel this is a great, I think this is a bat signal.
I like that we're getting our first like locker room thing from City in just their second season. I like that we're getting a story like this. Obviously, it's a bummer that that Sam obviously has had some issues in training, and the team felt that they had to go this far. But like you said, sometimes that happens, and the fact that they were able to put it out on Front Street, they were able to be honest with the media. I'm joking around a lot when I was talking about how he handles press conferences. Sometimes it's hard to get Carnell to give you the answer you want. So I was a little bit surprised that he was so honest and blunt with the Sam situation, but I appreciate that. We appreciate that when coaches and our organizations are honest with us, both as media and as fans. And so I appreciate that honesty. And I think that honesty deserves some context as well, which was, here was the next question in yesterday's press conference. And there was no video from yesterday's press conference, so I want to give some credit, by the way, to the journalists who were there yesterday. Specifically, I pulled these quotes from Matt Baker's Twitter. He's a great follow if you want to give him a follow. He provided some great context, because right after the Sam question yesterday, when Carnell gave that Sam will be training on his further, will be up until further notice, be training on his own quote, he was asked about Edouard Leuven. Now, here was Carnell's answer about Edouard Leuven, and I think you can see the difference in the tone of these just by the words used. And he said that Edouard Leuven, quote unquote, has a couple of things going on, and we're trying to give him the space needed and also progress his body the right way. Edu, for me, the first important thing in my pillar of beliefs is the person. He has all the time and space he needs. I think that level of understanding of the situation from Bradley Carnell shows you that the situation with Sam Adeniran is, one, serious, two, clearly a line was crossed by someone in the situation, because you see how they handle one situation of potentially an issue with mental health combined with, or a family situation, whatever it might be with Edouard Leuven, we don't 100% know. But combine that, a guy missing time and also coming back from injury, and just the way they've handled that with the Sam situation, I just think it's very interesting just how we saw Carnell handle those two situations yesterday, literally back to back.
Do you know something that I don't about Leuven? Tell me more.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I refer to it as a mental health or a family situation, because we don't know. We actually don't know what it was.
Okay.
Space and giving him time for his family situation. For all I know, that could be, referred to as a mental health situation. We don't know what's going on. That's been kept under wraps, and respect to City and respect to Edouard Leuven, who clearly want to try to keep it as private as possible for him.
Okay, I see what you're saying, though. I mean, Carnell does not give us a lot, but in these little things, just these two or three, lines, and the way that he's approached, even just talking about Klaus's goal. But he didn't talk about Klaus's goal. He talked about the 15 goals that Klaus deserves to have had because of his training and intensity. So, that mixed with the Sam's going to be training on his own, and we demand a high standard, mixed with we're giving all the space and time to Leuven because of the personality and the person. So Carnell is not just some heartless driver of intensity when it comes to training, but he has an extremely high standard. And in these little quotes, just a little bit in recent press, he's given us a lot of insight. The only thing I felt like was locker room talk or insight from last year was when you and I, or maybe it was me and Michelle, we asked him about the competition for certain positions, because he was still forming a team, and the only thing he said was, "Yeah, these guys are competing every day. Nobody has a spot. You don't have a guaranteed spot." And that was kind of the only insight that we had. And yet, again, it was about the intensity and the competition of training. There's kind of all we had, but it's all lining up. It's seeming like, Sam's really screwed up here, and needs to get it back in shape. But maybe it's not just an intensity. Maybe there's a little bit of personality.
And that's a tricky thing, because it's so hard to know that we don't get to see, really a lot of training at all. If you're able to be down there for everything, you still don't get to actually see a lot of training. So it's hard to know what happened. It's hard to know the personality factors. With the Leuven situation, like I said, they're keeping that under wraps, and respect to them for that. So it's hard to know all that stuff. So let's move really quickly away from some from the unknowns about this situation and move to stuff that we can at least kind of quantify and know factually, which is simply the question of Klauss or Sam as strikers and their effect on this team and what they bring to this team, and whether or not it makes sense to bench Sam Adeniran considering what he's given you. And obviously, again, we don't know what happened at training, but clearly I don't think it was anything good, or something that maybe not even at training, but in between, Friday and Thursday and what happened on Sunday, clearly something happened. And so I just want to take a quick look at some of the numbers around Sam and Klauss to give some people some ideas. Talking now about work rate. You're talking about bravery. We talked about, Carnell mentioned he should have 15 goals because of his work rate. So let's highlight a couple of quick things about being a team player, not just a goal scorer from the striker position. One quick thing you can look at when you look at that is how many progressive passes you make as a striker versus how many progressive carries you have. By the way, all you need to know about progressive is, am I taking the ball 10 yards towards the goal from where I started? That's all you need to know about progressive stats. That's all it is. With a pass, it's did you pass the ball 10 yards closer to the goal from where you were? For a carry, did you carry the ball 10 yards? That's a very simple thing there. João Klauss through this season is at over 3 progressive passes per game and 1 carry per game. Sam Adeniran on the other side is at 1.5 passes per game and almost 3 carries per game. So right there, let's just look at 2 stats that show you very clearly that João Klauss gets back, passes the ball, and then gets the ball forward by receiving a pass from somebody else. On the other hand, Sam Adeniran gets the ball forward by carrying it himself at his feet. Right off the bat, I think we're seeing a little bit different style. Speaking of which, being a guy who tracks back, João Klauss is at a tackle per game and almost half an interception per game. Sam Adeniran is below 0.7 tackles and about the same interception rate. But anyway, right there off the bat, you're seeing João Klauss getting more tackles per game, per 90, than Sam Adeniran by about a 3-to-2 ratio. Another one is progressive passes received. Essentially, are you on the receiving end of those progressive passes? João Klauss, 7 received progressive passes a game. Sam Adeniran, under 5. So right there, I think we're seeing maybe what Carnell wanted from his striker and what he wasn't getting necessarily from Sam Adeniran every game, which is a guy who tracks back on defense, something he was just talking about with João Klauss, somebody who then, when they win the ball back, doesn't spend as much time with the ball on his own feet, but passes the ball off, runs forward, and then receives the ball in more dangerous spots. Just looking at those stats, I think we can see and isolate some things that João Klauss does a lot better than Sam Adeniran this season that would definitely be something that Bradley Carnell would focus on. And I just want people to know, if you're looking at some of these numbers, you're saying, those don't seem like that big of differences. We're talking about some of these stats where João is in the 90th percentile for strikers in MLS, and Sam is in the 25th percentile. So these things switch. And again, if you want a different player, if you want a striker who carries the ball in and passes less, that's fine. But I think this is showing the kind of player they want Sam to be and the kind of player that João Klauss is. And that's, I think, where we're seeing some at least statistical differences in the strikers. Let's take attitude away from it. I think we're seeing a clear statistical difference in what these strikers provide and how important that is to St. Louis City SC. And I'll add this, my last point here, Moon, which is that in the early first 5 or 6 games of City, their best moments were 1v1 moments. And Sam was responsible for a lot of those. And there's a lot to be said about being a good 1v1 team and having good 1v1 moments. But they scored that goal and got those 3 points against Austin from a team build-up and a team play that led to a João Klauss goal. I think it's clear what kind of team City is trying to send a message that they want to be.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, I appreciate the insight there. That statistical insight is huge. I think that will open up a lot of eyes as far as the do I want Klauss or Adeniran up there? I think on the surface, when you began speaking, it seems like, wow, well, that's a perfect pairing. We got one guy that's really good at moving the ball this way. We got another guy who's a little bit better, or statistically has been doing more to move the ball in this sense. Seems like a great pairing, which is something that we've all been waiting for and hoping for, and we've seen glimpses of. But yeah, I think you're right. When you break down the stats, you break down all we know about how Carnell wants this team to run, Klauss seems to be a better fit for the St. Louis City SC style and what they've been trying to design. It was a great goal because not only was Klauss exactly where he was, and like you said, the team got it up there, crossed it out to Alm, and Rasmus Alm put it on his foot. Not only was that a great move from Klauss because Klauss stopped the crash. He was heading in. I think he was outside of the 6 and stopped to let the defenders close in that inside the 6 line. Basically stopped, and Alm put it on his laces. I mean, put it right to him. It was a perfect pass, a perfect execution on the one-timer. It was smart play. But again, like you said, it was play that seemed to be much more in the design of St. Louis City SC and Coach Carnell and what he's looking for. So it does look like Klauss is much more of a City player than Adeniran is. But who knows, man? Anything can happen. Clearly, Adeniran has some stats that makes us all pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean he
with
wins
the goals.
he wins aerial duels at a much higher rate than João Klauss. Again, a lot of his finishing numbers have been better than João Klauss up until the game where João finally puts a goal in, and obviously that's going to shift a lot of your per 90 stats in a big way this early in the season.
Yeah.
So it's not all 100%. Sam did a lot of great things for this team, and this team has shown, against Dallas, that there's some games where they want to throw in a lot of crosses. I feel like Sam's really, obviously, the way he wins aerial duels, again, it's about double the rate of João Klauss, a little bit less so far this season, and last season was also a pretty good aerial rate as well. So there are things Adeniran can bring to this club, and I'm not saying he can't fit. I just think that there's clear statistical signs showing that maybe he isn't just giving the exact style that City wants right now. And you're correct. I think they do work well, but I think part of this went from the shift about 4 or 5 games in where they said, we're not going to do the 2 striker thing anymore unless it's kind of a hybrid where the second striker is AZ or Celio, and we can always shift back into our 4-2-3-1. So they're not really they've kind of shifted away from the 2 striker formations, and so they're not going to play both of them. And so now they need, I think, a striker who plays more like João, and I just don't know if they were seeing that from Adeniran, and maybe that's where the issue in training popped up. I do want to go ahead. Sorry, Moon.
No, I was going to say, I think that was the original plan. We saw that as the original plan last year. The 2 striker thing was kind of like this is, that was a response to adjustments after mid-season last year. So that was kind of something we found ourselves in, or they found themselves in, and they're going back away to the original, single striker when it was Klauss, Gioacchini, or Adeniran up there. And listen, I think Adeniran's a ridiculously skilled dude, and I hope he gets it together, and we're past this soon.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of final notes really quick from the Austin game. I want to just throw out some credit and just highlight some of the games that we saw. Obviously, Totland and when you talk about them, they were the main guys who helped make that goal happen with Klauss. The third guy who was really involved in that was Tomas Ostrak, and another great guy around St. Louis. If you haven't followed him already, I've mentioned him on the podcast before. Justin Horniker did a great job of highlighting how important Ostrak's switching of the play from the left to the right side was, because then you get Totland crashing on the inside channel, on the overlap outside, which leads to the low cross inside the Klauss and the goal, like you were referring to. All 3 of those guys had incredible games. We've talked about the position switch for Tomas Ostrak. Man, it has really opened up his game. He's been incredible. I really have to wonder if there's a way that they find a way to get Ostrak and Leuven on the field at the same time in the center midfield. I would love to see a 3-man midfield with those 2 guys combined.
That's what I want to see.
Okay. I would love that, because, man, Ostrak he has just come alive getting moved inside from out wide. He's been great.
I love that guy. I talked a big game about Vasilev earlier in the year.
He was fantastic, too.
And I love Vasilev, but he's So speaking from a defender's standpoint, I love Vasilev. I think he's a real risk for defenses, but I think he is easier to predict a little bit. He's looking for a great pass. He's getting to the wings. He's putting the ball to the wings. He's an excellent player, and it is going to be a huge strength for us going forward. And consistency is what I like to see from Vasilev for the most part. Ostrak, I've been talking about Ostrak since last year because he likes to shoot. Yeah. He likes to just put the ball up there, whether it looks like he should be thinking about that or he might be thinking about something else. Ostrak is a risk from a defensive standpoint. If I'm defending Ostrak, it's not that he's, got the hardest shot or that he's the most creative player or he's his foot skills outdo other people. It's because the guy is a shooter. He's a threat. He pops up in little places that he wasn't supposed to be a few seconds ago. As a defender, I don't like Ostrak. you know what I mean? Like if I'm defending and he gets the ball, there's a little bit of nerves that go, God dang it, what's he going to do? And I'm not comfortable when he's on the ball. Dude, listen, I played against some really skilled people. There are certain people that are so very skilled, but if I feel like I know them and I know their equations, it doesn't worry me. I'm actually kind of stoked to defend somebody that's better than me. But sometimes there's people that are just, they're ball rippers or whatever it is. I can't think of the word, but Ostrak has that I can see defenders when he gets the ball. If it was Leuven and him in the middle, kind of going back and forth and doing the yin yang thing. Leuven with his creativity and his ability to put the ball wherever he wants. And Ostrak's unpredictability, really, as a defender, that's a very uncomfortable pairing in the midfield that I would love to see take on some MLS defending.
Yeah, and you got it with Chris Durkin, who continues to impress. I'd absolutely love that. And really, I think as we kind of move on from that, those guys have established themselves as such a dangerous attack. Ostrak, Indy Vasilev, Celio Pompeu continues to really prove himself. This attack, even with the questions around guys like Sam Adeniran, this attack has really solidified itself in a solid, 4-man group, to the point where I really want to start seeing some creativity with some super subs. As much as I love AZ Jackson, I loved how he looked as a sub in that Austin game. He was fantastic, I thought, coming off the bench. He had 2 shots, both of them on target, 13 touches. He went 7 of 7 on his passes. He had 3 progressive passes. He had 7 touches, 1 progressive carry, and he went 3 and 3 on his take-ons. I mean, I thought AZ Jackson was great. You solidify your attacking forward with those guys we got now, and now you find ways to you find the teams and you find the times and you find the ways to make AZ Jackson and Nukvi Thoresen players that teams hate to hear their name get called in the 81st minute. When they see that sign go up and they see either Nukvi or AZ hitting the sideline, I want teams to be worried, because those guys clearly, I think, have been separated from the top attackers, but those guys are so good coming off the bench. I think Nukvi looks more comfortable every time they bring him off the bench. There's a really good group of 6-7 attackers, and it's starting to stratify itself, and I'm okay with that, because I think that gives you more options to use AZ and Nukvi as super subs that can help you get those goals late in games and put games away, because those guys, Jose Kojima, in fact, had the highest XG shot of the game, even over Klauss's goal. Jose Kojima had the best shot. So even he came in and almost put a nail in the coffin with his second goal. I love what the starters are doing. I like the way that we're seeing some of these bench players and role players really solidify their roles. City's going to have a really tough schedule coming up, but I'm getting excited about what we could see over the next few weeks.
Yeah, there's obviously hustle is a big part of our game, and that's the only reason I ever made teams, because I never had the skills to get me there. It was always the hustle that got me there. So that's what I built a career on, right? And there's 2 different types of hustle. There's the and no one's ever going to say this, but there's the midfielder or the defender or the attacker that kind of likes to be down, likes to be the underdog, and they hustle extra and they perform extra when it's a tie game. So they're great starters. Mm-hmm. AZ Jackson, I know that's your guy, but he's a happy hustler. He's a happy hustler right now, where listen, I would hold him on the bench and just say, listen, AZ, just be ready. And as soon as we score, you put AZ in, because he's a happy hustler. He will add goals to the lead. You know what I'm saying? So far, that's what I've seen. I don't know what the stats say. I'm sure you're going to figure that out for us. But the way that I see him playing, once we're ahead, I'm not sure he's like starter material as far as being up against the wall.
We have a very small sample size because that's his first non-start in a very long time for St. Louis. And he's been just a starter. He has not come off the bench very much for City and MLS games. He's been a starter. And so we have a very small sample size of him being a super sub, but I thought he looked great. And it's not necessarily that he's lacked production this year. He hasn't developed the way you wanted him to after the way he jumped last year. I think that's fair to say. I just think that everyone else above him has solidified themselves more so. Indy Vasilev, Celio Pompeu, Rasmus Alm getting healthy, Ostrak, especially when Leuven gets healthy and you need more ways to get him involved. Those guys have simply just solidified themselves higher on the depth chart. And so now I'm saying, with the little we saw AZ as a super sub, man, I love the idea of him, because I agree with you. He drives that nail in the coffin when you're up 1-0 and you need to get that second one.
Yeah, he's just ever so lighter on his feet, and he's quick. He's quick. He's just going to continue to get better, hopefully. But yeah, so what else we got? We got a big weekend coming up.
Yes, we do.
This episode is releasing on Wednesday, so that means just in a few days. On Saturday, we are doing a pre-game live taping of Soccer 101 with Moon and Rocchio at 9 Mile Garden. Inviting you guys out. It's going to be obviously a free hang. 9 Mile Garden's got all the food, and they got the big watch party for the St. Louis City SC Sporting KC match, the Missouri rival. that's happening. What time's the game? 7:15, something like that.
7:30 is the official kickoff time right now. We're going to be getting there about 5 o'clock. If you guys have never been to 9 Mile Garden, all these great food trucks around St. Louis. Well, the great thing about the food trucks, culture is now they find different ways to get them together. And 9 Mile Garden is essentially a static place where all these food trucks places can pull in. You can eat from all the different ones. They got picnic tables set up so you can sit there and eat your food truck food. They have these giant oversized outdoor screens where they play movies. And on Saturday, they're going to be playing whatever you want to call it. You want to call it Barbecue? You want to call it the I-70 Derby? You want to just call it Playoff Revenge? If you're a hardcore St. Louis City SC fan, they're playing Sporting Kansas City. It'll be up on the oversized screens as soon as it kicks off around 7:30. But before that, me and Moon there it is. Me and Moon doing a live recording of Soccer 101 on the premises. We'll be there from 5 to 7. We're going to be hanging out a little bit. We'll record the live episode, and we're going to hang out a little bit more. And then I'll be sticking around to watch the whole game because I cannot imagine anything better. Unless you're actually going to be on the other side of the state watching Sporting Kansas City and City face off in Kansas City, you need to be at 9 Mile Garden because that's going to be the best watch party in the city of St. Louis. And, of course, if you show up early enough, you get to hear a live taping with us too. What could be even better?
Yeah, that's what Rocchio said. We're going to show up about 5, but it's going to be a heck of a night. The weather's supposed to be great. Bring a light jacket if you
get a scarf. It's soccer, baby. Wear a scarf.
Yeah, exactly. Wear your scarf. Wear your city scarf. Hey, listen, we're inviting KC fans too. If there's a couple of you out here and you're going to be on our side of the state, then come on down, have fun. The food is freaking spectacular. All these trucks that are going to be there.
It's so good.
We will do the pregame podcast there, and then have a big watch party. Most likely, we're going to have a bunch of freebies as well, because the point doesn't do anything without having a whole bunch of crap to give out. And ESPN 101 ESPN doesn't show up to parties without good swag as well. So we'll have some
best street teamers in the business, Moon.
That's right. It's going to be a party, and we're going to see a lot of goals, I'm sure. So Rocchio, let's close up this episode. Thank you guys for being with us. Make sure you subscribe, share the podcast if you will. It's all brought to you by Matt Rocchio and his amazing blue collared shirt today.
And we will see you on Saturday again, 5 to 7 from 9 Mile Garden in Afton. Get out there. Let's have some fun.
That's right. Rest in peace, Whitey Herzog. And with that, I say, go!